Hey guys, Ferdozy back again. Just a quick video here. Recently, we had a new update which changed a whole lot of things. Vehicles got a significant buff. The way that the penalties to certain upgrades got changed a lot. Now, reinforcements are generally taking more of a hit than resupply time. So, with that being said, the game has sped up a little bit more over the last update. I did not release a video since the last update. I've actually been trying a whole lot of different things with editing and that kind of stuff, and obviously, unfortunately, I'm still using a headset mic. So trying to do a little bit to see if I can squeeze the last little bit of quality out of these videos. And just experimenting with a whole lot of things. But you guys aren't interested in that. You guys are interested in Warfare Online. So with that being said, I have created a couple of platoons. This one right here, I'm not going to show you guys because, yeah, I'm not going to show it to you guys. This game is still in beta, and there are certain things that are a little bit unbalanced, and I don't want people to abuse them. So, with that being said, I will show you guys my Trollol platoon. Now this platoon right here is very much a work in progress. It's just something I threw together. Essentially, what it is here is basically all the support has been made network assets, and the biggest thing here is it's trying to shut down everything that the enemy does before they do it. So I have blackout in here. Oh, and I just took it out. That's an 8 cost, I think. So we'll get that in there. Yep. And ooh, I could do that, but especially with the number of vehicles here. Actually, I think I'm going to do that. And I'm going to substitute out. Actually, I'm going to get another support. No, I don't need support preparation. I need more units. So I'll go ahead and get another shutdown in there. All right. And basically, yeah. So this is a whole bunch of network assets. The operations, obviously, I have network priority in there to help make sure that all of those network support assets cost one less. Given the fact that I think about 15 of my assets are network assets, so I'll count the ones that aren't. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 15 of them are network access. So in addition to that, we also have outpost storage and light assault doctrine to bring our Humvee counter or Humvee resupply time, excuse me, down a whole lot. So I'm actually thinking I might get rid of outpost storage. That does help make the deck a little bit more bursty, as Con likes to say. It makes it a little bit faster with that start off. And I'm actually thinking I'm going to get rid of that. And recently I've been using efficient vehicle supply. Now, I mentioned earlier a couple of times in the Discord server, and maybe even on that last video, that efficient vehicle supply right now is very much a random number game. Sometimes you get it triggering 2 or 3 times, other times you don't get it triggering at all. And so it's a little bit random, but at the same time, when it works very well. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that for now. Then again, I only have, in this, as far as the units are concerned, I have, let's see, anti-infantry LAVs, it looks like. Semi-AP-HE, so that's actually sort of like a jack of all trades, except for that soft target training there. On the Humvees, we have fast deploy Humvees with the assault config with higher movement speed and lower health. They can still stand up to 1 AT shot without getting destroyed. I'm not sure how they fare against some of those HE rounds from the tanks. I've yet to see that. But that being said, they're fairly useful. As of right now, they seem to be doing okay, especially against infantry platoons. But that being said, you're not really facing a whole lot of infantry platoons these days. Most of what you're facing is vehicles and lots of them. So honestly, I don't really expect to be doing very well with this platoon at all. But with that being said, I have wasted a lot of time talking about these platoons, and now you guys have gotten a general look at what I have going on here, and I am going to go ahead and go to battle and see what happens. Now, after I'm going to go ahead and do 2 battles, I think, with this video. After I finish each battle, I think I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the different platoons, see how players are playing, especially if I get beat. If I get beat, that means that somebody actually has at least a somewhat decent platoon. This platoon that I'm running right now is not something I would consider a very competitive platoon. If I came up against one of the players that I've run into in the past and I know is a better player, I would almost expect to lose because I have not really made this platoon to be terribly competitive. I just sort of made it to try new things out. Now that's interesting. They have the vehicle supply line out, they have armor operation, and they have structural improvements. So this looks like they're sort of gearing up to be obviously using vehicles and probably playing a little bit defensively, hoping that we don't get to their outposts. Now, rapid response, that's a very useful card here to have from the start. I think I'll keep that. I'll get rid of these 2 though and see what I draw. I don't know this platoon very well and how it plays because I haven't played with it a whole bunch, but we'll see how it goes. This is all an experiment in the making. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to deploy a Humvee. I'm going to wait for this, and I'm going to get a rifleman rush set up. Now, one of the things that happened in this update is that cover was actually nerfed. So the bonus that you get when you have your units in cover was actually decreased. In addition to that, machine gun teams now do less damage when they're outside of cover. So machine gun teams have become a little bit less prolific in the way that the gameplay works. So these guys do have the M60s, but this, even though it's only got a saw on top of that gun, it should be able to take care of those quite easily. And I'm going to do this, and this might come back to bite me, and it did. But I managed to get that rapid response off on that tank before I did so, and I have a good defensive line. In addition to that, my Humvee is actually attacking the outpost, doing 5 damage for each one of those bursts that's going on. You can sort of try and see that up there in the corner. He's still higher than my HP, and at the end of the game, the HP value is actually what matters the most. So he sent out an LAV with semi-AP HE rounds, and I'm going to try that again and do a reroute supply. And it failed again. Alright. But we got that tank out, which is the important part, of course. Normally, that's a 50-50 chance, so normally you at least get one of them, and if you do get one, then that's 15 seconds that the enemy has to wait, and you can almost force them into playing a vehicle. And if you know that they're going to deploy a vehicle, then you can react accordingly. Now we got blackout, and we have satellite targeting. I'm going to wait for that LAV there. This should end up going, yeah, that's going that way. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. He hasn't deployed a unit in a while, and now that should keep him busy for a little bit. I think it's about 15 seconds. And I'm going to get some more riflemen on the field here. Rifles at the ready. Now this is a very useful card right now. It'll probably end up being nerfed in one way or another in the upcoming patches, but for now it actually works pretty well. It is an elite card, but it's definitely one of those elite cards that's worth grinding for. And I'm glad I got that LAV out because they're probably going to need the help here. I need to increase the number of riflemen here. I need to get a good rush going. This is not going to last very long. Get that targeted effect. Up just for time being. And oh wow, that did not go terribly well. So that was a well-timed AT team on his part. Some assault squads out. Now, how much damage? I didn't really see any difference. Okay, so it actually does. The Humvee actually does a decent amount of damage, but it only takes one shot from those HE rounds to destroy it. And now I'm going to deploy another tank with that and get some more assault squads going out here. Now, get them rushing up. This is going to be painful here, I think. And he's almost dead. This should actually end up going our way here in a few minutes. Keeping him busy, and boom goes the dynamite. Get that last Humvee out, and now is a good time to rush. This is sort of the direction that the game is. The direction they're trying to go with the game right now is setting up so that you have vehicles leading rushes supported with infantry. And we have, oh beautiful, a grenade going in. That AT team should be dead. Minor disruption. Keep him from deploying infantry for a little bit. Put up some network security. Disable the tank. And that's all I got for now. Excellent. And that might actually do it. I'm going to go ahead and move in here. Activate these covers. And he just tried to use attack sites. And that should actually beat him. Oh, he does have another tank here. I think that we should be okay though. Hard. Now he's repairing, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Of course, we are basically out of reinforcements at this point. This Counter-Strike team is pretty useful. And that went pretty well, actually. So I'm not necessarily what platoon he was running, but we're about to find out. That went a lot better than I expected, to be honest. I don't think that our support assets really did a whole bunch to sway the battle. Those two network disruptions ended up going against us, but it still ended up working out well enough. Certainly one of the most go-to cards to have right now is Rapid Response. That's the one that decreases a unit's timer by 50%. You can drop that on a tank. That's saving you 30 seconds for the cost of, I think, 1 or 2 supply. I think it's 2 for this platoon, but normally it's 1. Yes. And he has 2 of those in there, just sort of going to show you that it is, in fact, a very, very useful support asset. Counter barrage is also very useful at the time being. Definitely helps to thin out infantry that are in cover. That reduction in cover bonus is certainly helpful, though. He does have some higher end stuff here. He's got that M60 and the mounted kit. I've unlocked the mounted kit, but I haven't bought it yet, so I still have yet to test that. So he has the sort of anti-infantry machine gun team, so that explains why back when it first got sent out, it didn't do very well at all against the Humvee that I sent up front. As LAV seems to be set up in more of a anti-vehicular setup with that extra armor plating and semi-AP HE rounds. It's also fairly well rounded though, so I'll give him that. His tanks, he's avoided using any of the Crow's configurations in order to keep the reinforcements up at 2. He's used the damage control configuration to make sure that his vehicle doesn't explode or get ammo racked, I guess you could say. And then he's also increased the damage to vehicles, so his tanks he's running, that's actually kind of a bad synergy there. So he has HE rounds, which are great against light vehicles, but bad against heavy vehicles, and then he also has hard target training, so great against, so that tank is really optimized towards light vehicles, which is kind of an interesting setup. Then he also has a sniper team. I'm not sure if I saw any of those sniper teams. One of the things that his platoon is lacking, just at the first glance with the units, is rifleman or a very high reinforcement unit. So he has a lack of depth in reinforcements going on here in his platoon. Uh, if I were him, I would probably either the sniper team or the AT team, especially because he has these two vehicles here, which are sort of slated towards the anti-vehicle role. And you can also use fire support to help fill in the gaps that you might have when you're trying to deploy vehicles. I'm not sure that the AT team is the best choice in this situation. Now, in addition to that, his sniper team, given the situation, if he didn't want to keep those AT teams to make sure that he was the best prepared, because there were situations there where he deployed an AT team and it really helped sway the battle more in his direction. So given that and observing the fact that he really didn't deploy very many sniper teams, I didn't see a single one. I might not have been looking, but at the same time, I definitely would switch out one of these for riflemen just to get a few more units on the field. He does have, let's see, I think he deployed 3 tanks there, so I'm trying to find the last tank that he had, how he got that out there, or maybe I just miscounted because I actually don't see anything that increases the number of tanks that he would be able to deploy. So yeah, I think I actually just miscounted. I think he only had 2. Alright, so with that being said, we've reviewed the opponent's platoon. Let's go back and try again. I kind of want to get beat this time. Kind of want to see what some of the new platoons that really work well are. One of the best ways to learn in this game is after you get defeated, look at the opponent's platoon, figure out how you got beat and what it was that worked so well against whatever platoon you were using. Now, certainly in situations, given the way that the units are set up, for instance, snipers are easily outperformed by a Humvee. With that being said, though, Humvees are fairly handily outdone by AT teams that are in cover. And yet AT teams are handily beaten by snipers. So there's almost a rock, paper, scissors aspect. Sometimes it's not just 3 units, though. Sometimes it can be a little bit more complicated. But with that being said, there's not necessarily a single best platoon. Some platoons are better against other platoons, and those other platoons might actually be better against an additional platoon. So that's a little bit of trial and error to sort of figure out what platoon works the best against the most enemies. And it's a continuing effort, and that's part of the fun of the game, is to try and figure out what platoons not only you enjoy playing as, but also the platoons that actually work and help you win the most battles overall. So this guy actually seems to be going defensively and with infantry, if I had to guess. So he's trying to set up a defense pretty quickly and then hold it. I'm going to try and get a little bit more burstiness in my opening moves here. That was actually a very lucky draw on that rapid response. And if I hit that reroute, I won't be able to use it on that until afterwards, so I'm going to deploy a Humvee now. I'm going to wait for rapid response. Use that. Now I'm going to hit that reroute, and it should be actually almost exactly the same time. That's beautiful. So that'll keep him busy. That'll keep him off of my AO. He probably is going to end up deploying AT team here. With the new update, those Humvees really get deployed quite quickly. And of course, one of the other things that they changed on a lot of the maps is that they got rid of the center coverage. Center cover, excuse me. So that's definitely, so he's waiting a long time here, which leads me to believe that there's a vehicle that's going to come out of here very shortly. And there she is. Yeah, no, I don't want you firing, man. That's not fun. You have to wait until my tanks get here before you can fire back, bro. Just chill there for now, okay? With your Sabo rounds. I can't remember if Sabo rounds actually do a lot of damage to tanks, but he's probably dead anyway. And he's gone with AT, so I'm gonna need some, we'll go with assaults. And we're gonna delay infantry, because I think he might be having one come up here. And you guys need to get out of cover. What are you guys doing in cover? That's a bad idea. And you can chill there. And there goes that cover. There goes the ATs. And we did not lose our tank, which is excellent. So when you deploy those tanks in a pair like that, it's actually very useful. You're doing twice as much damage and you have twice the hit points. But the enemy, because they're taking twice as much damage, is only doing their damage for half as much time. So essentially, you actually can do up to you're like what 4 times as effective. I'm not sure if I'm doing the math right there, but it should be something like that. And let's go ahead and set up post here. See if we can finish it out. I didn't use much of my support deck at all. I did slow him up a little bit. I think maybe delaying infantry there might have convinced him more to play a vehicle, which he seems to be holding out for now. And now he's just getting swarmed. There's that tank. Now targeted. Let's see if that works. It's a bad idea. It's probably gonna. Ooh, it worked. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And there goes one tank. These guys up there because they're not doing anything. And that's a GG. As you can see, I'm not sure if you guys played the last update. If you didn't, then you can take my word for it that the last update was very defensive. One of the most successful strategies in the last update was basically to wait till the other team had run out completely of reinforcements, or maybe just set up camp outside your outpost and just wait for that 15-minute timer to run out and hope that you had just a little bit more HP than the enemy. Now, the rush strategy is definitely more in play. It's more vehicle based, so it's not quite as rapid in a lot of situations. That being said, though, those vehicle timers certainly got reduced a lot. So, and especially the fact that now instead of reducing your increasing your resupply time when you add those upgrades, a lot of times it just reduces the number of reinforcements. And if you're able to get past a certain point to where you are rushing the opponent and finishing them off before they can actually, exhaust your reinforcements, then it doesn't really matter. So it's all about finding that nice little pretty balance somewhere in there. Now, going on this guy's platoon, he actually had a similar set, strikingly similar. He's running the same exact things. Machine gun teams are great, AT teams are great, and sniper teams are great. He has the M40, which is the standard weapon, so he doesn't have the long-range snipers yet, but that's a little bit up there. It takes some time to unlock that. I can certainly understand that. He's got AT teams using the M4, and he's got the machine gun teams using the M240. Now, he's also got, what is this? That's the Overwatch kit. That's a good kit for MGs. I think I actually currently am using it. That's my go-to. It's fairly early unlock, and it's pretty useful. LAV looks like it's set up for, HE rounds, so definitely set up for anti-infantry with some AT plating that help against vehicles, and he's using the armored combat training for critical chance, so it almost seems like he's gone for everything all at once. Now, none of that, except for the HE rounds, well, actually, it doesn't say that it reduces the damage versus vehicles, so maybe it just increases. That could be possible. So actually, yeah, that could be a very good setup for his LAV. I didn't see an LAV though. It was a quick battle, I'll give him that. And then his tanks are set up for anti-vehicle with the scout config, which reduces health, which is why his tanks ended up not doing a whole lot of damage and getting ate up pretty quickly. So it's an interesting setup. I think it looks like even though he has these infantry operations, and those might be the only ones that he has available to him, he's trying to use these vehicles as well and trying to get them out. Now, I don't think that his platoon is super successful in that regard. I think that if you're going to go with these vehicles here, because this seems like it's more oriented towards a rush, if you want to get those out, you need to focus your operations on getting those vehicles out faster. He does have one rapid response, which is, as always, very useful. Other than that, though, he has reinforcement, so his platoon has longevity. So if you were able to hold a position, which he does have those MG teams, he would actually be able to hold it pretty well. Couple of mortar strikes and lower end things. So one thing that I see looking at his support assets here, if I were to critique them, is that he has a lot of lower cost support assets here. He has MG teams, ATs, and snipers, so he doesn't have a whole lot of meat in his platoon to sort of push a rush. Using riflemen in a rush is very useful. If you send them a little bit ahead of your other stuff, it gets all the units firing at them first, and it adds a little bit of aim time at the very least, or at the very best. It gives those other units something else to fire at, while your better units, such as your snipers, or your MG teams if they're in cover, or your vehicles, can start really dishing out the damage and eliminating the enemy units. But he doesn't have that, so and then the other thing, of course, I see is that he has these operations that are set up for, if you asked me, more of a rush strategy. So he has rush operations, sort of rush support. It's not really rush. He has rapid response, but it's more oriented towards low-cost operations or supports that are able to be deployed quickly, rather than deploying units faster and buffing units, etc., etc. And then his units are set up more defensively. So he doesn't really have a really good synergy in his platoon. I think that's why he didn't end up doing terribly well. So that's the end of this video. Not terribly long. We didn't cover a whole lot. I'm going to try and put out another video later. Maybe go over a different type of platoon or something like that. If you guys have suggestions or requests for certain types of strategies that you'd like me to test out, feel free to leave a comment or request down below. If you like this video, go ahead and like it. If you disliked it, you can tell me I sucked in the comments and dislike it. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Verdosia.